Alright y'all, welcome back to the sit down. This is episode 50.3. I hope y'all can't hear that dog barking underneath me in the apartment below me. It is so annoying, so if you can, I apologize. I'll try to edit that out the best I can. Don't hold your breath though. But I'm here.
Not the most tech savvy guy over here.
I'm learning. This is all brand new.
I do gotta give him credit. He has been studying, he's been learning some new tricks. So
I'm learning a bunch of new stuff. He saw me learn like 4 or 5 new things since he's been here, so
new things on the way.
I'm always trying to take in information when I can, but yeah. So we're gonna kind of talk about a pretty, I would say a pretty influential thing for both of us, and we went through it at very different times. But we're gonna kind of talk about divorce and kind of experiencing it from the outside and from within, right? And kind of what it was like for us to sort of navigate those waters because they were very rocky, and kind of what are some of the things that it might have done to us. Maybe what are some of the things that it taught us. And and maybe some advice for people that might be going through it now, because we won't go into the specifics, but I have the luxury of being able to kind of talk about it now in totality, because my parents' whole experience with that has kind of come and gone. But for you, Billy, kind of dive into that a little bit.
First of all, we're talking about parents being
right,
divorced, not us being divorced.
Neither
one of us has been there.
No, and we don't plan on it either. But yeah, Billy, kind of dive into that a little bit. What was the initial kind of feelings that you had, when you first were educated and kind of told that whole situation was going to be occurring?
So this is very new to me because this sort of just happened. So neither one of us really have an experience of like a little kid who goes through this.
Right.
So can't really talk on that sort of situation. But for me, being as old as I was, you kind of know it was coming. So there were conversations that I had where it's just like, yeah, things aren't as happy as they used to be. Things aren't going as well as they used to be. And it was never like a hostility. It was never like this person does this and I hate this and this is why I'm miserable. It was just like things aren't what they used to be. Things aren't as good as what they used to be. And being kind of an adult going through this, it's like you're kind of put in a spot almost, because it's like, are you looking for advice from me? Because I feel like I'm not one to, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Are you just looking for an avenue to vent? And because I'm old enough to understand it, I can be that avenue. And it was confusing. It was a confusing experience. But it wasn't a hurtful one. Mm-hmm. It wasn't one where I would go home at night and be like, is this my fault? Did I do this?
Sure.
Which I think maybe sometimes a younger person would feel that.
Right, definitely.
They would go through, if a young person's parents are going through divorce, that they could look at it like, this is my fault, like I did something. Whereas I'm enough on the outside, especially not even living at home anymore, where it was like, yeah, this isn't on me, obviously.
Right.
Like, this is just two people who have grown apart, done great things while they were together. I'm very grateful for the way I was raised. There was so much love in my life,
right,
from both parents, for my whole family. And as a family unit together, there's so much love, and there still is so much love.
Of course.
And that hasn't been lost because of what has transpired. The love of my family being together as a family has not changed. I still have mom and I still have dad.
Right.
I still have my brother and sister. Like we're still a family.
Absolutely.
And just because two of those people aren't together anymore doesn't change that. It doesn't change the fact that love we all have for each other as a family unit isn't there.
Right.
And I think I'm lucky in that sense, because I think it definitely can happen where that does go away.
Absolutely.
And obviously divorce can happen because of very ugly reasons.
Absolutely.
And very horrific reasons. And that's a whole different scenario that I'm not able to speak about. But in my situation, I think I'm I consider myself lucky to have the childhood and the life path set for me that I did before this transpired. And again, it's not out of ill, like that love is still there.
Absolutely. And that's important to understand, right? Because for me, you know, it's so weird, but life is such a crazy thing, right? Because it's like, for me, you know, I never would have envisioned, you know, your parents, you know, getting a divorce or separating, right? That just never was something that was in my mind, right? And something I never thought would happen.
But at the time when your parents did, I would have never thought that either,
Right.
you know? And I don't, you know, obviously especially you and me, with each other's families, we're even more on the outside.
Right.
So like, we definitely don't know.
Of course.
But it's same sort of thing. It was like, it would never even cross my mind when I was a little kid to be like, oh yeah, that'll happen.
And it's interesting, right? Because it's one of those things where, you know, I think, thank God, you know, we got very lucky, like you had said. Everything you had said about growing up, you know, we got blessed beyond belief with opportunities, with childhood, with life paths, with morals, with character, with, you know, what it means to be a man, you know, what it is to be a man in society, and especially in an ever-growing and evolving society. You know, I feel like we got set up very well to succeed, you know, and I think a large part of that is due to our parents. And I think it's just so interesting, right? Because I think for me, you know, I went through it at a younger age. I was still old enough to comprehend things, but I don't think I was old enough at the time to compartmentalize everything correctly, right? So for me, you know, my parents, as you remember, right, they started my freshman year and sophomore year in high school. So I was 16 and 17, you know, so, and I was still living with my mom at the time. You know, so I was pretty deep, and I was neck deep in the water, you know, with them pretty much the whole way, you know. And it's tricky because my dad had left the house, you know, so I would see my dad at school every day, and I'd see my mom at home every day, you know. So there was a period of time there where I was the central form of communication between both parents. And you know, and that's
tough on a kid.
Sure, and it was, you know, it was confusing, right? Because it was a whole different lifestyle change for me now, right? Because even though, you know, now I can look back and think, you know, I'm blessed beyond belief because now I can build a relationship with my two parents as individuals, not as one.
That's true.
And that's so powerful. Even, listen guys, even if your parents are together, happily married, which God bless, I hope they are forever. Take the time to build relationships with each individual separately, each parent separately. Because there's certain things that a mother can provide to you that a father can't.
Absolutely.
And there's certain things a father can provide to you that a mother never can. And I think a lot of kids, a lot of adults lose out on that. And we got lucky because we get to experience that now. You know, and obviously it was not the path that we have liked to take.
It's not the way we want it to happen, but it's a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely. And what was so kind of crazy for me was, it wasn't as smooth as sailing from what it sounds as for you, Billy. You know, it's funny you say, you know, things just kind of took their course. You know, I think that was the same situation with my parents. Thank God it wasn't about an ugly reason, right? It wasn't about, you know, something behind closed. It wasn't anything like that. I just think their relationship had taken their course.
It ran its course.
It ran its course. You know, they did what they were supposed to do with us as me as a young adult, and my brother as an adult. You know, getting married at the time, closely being married. But it was, like you had said, it was very confusing, right? Because you never game plan for that. You never expect or assume that that's going to be something that's going to happen in your life, nor should you.
No.
You're setting yourself up for disaster if you do that.
Exactly.
So there was a lot of growth, that at least for me, that took place, right? I talked about this in one of my episodes on the sit down where I did my own stuff. That was one of the most pivotal moments in my life to develop as a man, because I learned how to have those tough conversations with people that you don't want to have conversations with about that, right? And you learn that, life is not always fair. Life is not always going to go your way. You're not always going to have it the way you want it, but there's always something that can be taken from it, right? And there's always opportunity, even in the darkest of times. And, you know, for me, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, I'll always remember this moment till I die. You know, it was like a summer day. I went for a run, dude. I never run. That's how stressed I was at the time. I went for a run to try to take myself off the earth or something. I was out of there, but went for a run and I came back and my dad had come by, I think, to pick up some of his stuff. And my mom and my dad, they were kind of talking in the garage, and I was trying to recover. I was dead tired. Don't run, so I was dead tired.
Doubled over.
Yeah, it was bad. Trying not to throw up. It was rough. It was rough.
Like spin class the other day.
Oh my goodness, we won't even go there. But and I remember, you know, they started to kind of bicker back and forth, and you know, and I just got so fed up and tired of it, you know, because I really felt like I had been involved in a lot of their growing pains, not by choice but by necessity.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they were kind of bickering, and I was just like, dude, like enough is enough. Like I'll always remember this. I said I would much rather have you guys be apart and be happy than to be together and to be miserable.
Absolutely.
Because I just want to see my parents happy. I'm sure as you
Absolutely.
do as well.
100%.
And I really do feel, and I don't know if they believe this or not, or if they feel this way, but for me at least, I kind of felt like that was one of the catalysts in terms of letting them know that I'm okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with it all. Like, you don't have to try to salvage this. You don't have to try to fight for this anymore. Like, y'all just go do your thing and be happy as individuals. Like, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be all right. And I think that's something that's really important too. Is to tell your parents that it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to try to save this from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've done more than I could have ever asked for.
Yeah, especially at that point in life where you are basically an adult
Mm-hmm.
and an adult, and it's like at that point I'm good. I'm established. I have things under control. I don't need everything that a parent gives to a small
Right.
child anymore. What I do need is knowing that both of you are happy, and I do need to know that both of you have my back and support me. It doesn't have to be together, it could be individually, but like I still have that love of a parent, whether it's from both of you at the same time or not, that's whatever, but as long as I have both of your loves, because and that's what we're used to. So someone
Right.
who maybe only grows up with one parent obviously would feel different, but because we both had both of our parents growing
Right.
up, both of that love from both of them that's what we crave. That's what
Exactly
we need
right.
as human beings. And that's probably what all it's probably deep wired in there
I would
somewhere
imagine so.
that, love from both parents is necessary. So as long as that's there, you don't have to be together to provide that.
And I think you hit on something really important there, Billy. It was one of those things where I think once you define what the roles are and you make sure that everybody's on the same page, it makes it a lot easier, right? Because I think, like you had said, as much as it's within our will to try to seek that craving and that comfort, I think it's also within a parent's will and within a parent's hardwiring to always serve and to protect
Absolutely.
and to provide for their kids.
Absolutely.
And as much as we're learning and going through it, they're also going through
Yes.
it too and understanding, what does it
100%.
mean to provide for a kid now that I'm not going home to them every night.
No one who's ever been a parent for the first time has ever been a parent before.
Right.
They don't know. They don't know what they're doing. So think about that next time you get mad at your parents. They're learning just as much as you're learning.
Yeah, for real. And that's the other thing too, and I know, a lot of situations are very different based off the person,
100%.
and there's some families that, don't function well and there's some that function great. If there's something that you can do, as a child to try to help strengthen your family, do it. Don't shortchange that, because I'll tell you what, there's gonna be a point in time where when you're at your lowest point and you really need somebody and nobody's gonna be there but that family.
Yep.
And it's, for me, I'm sure you can talk about this too, Billy, family, I feel like that's one thing that I'm super grateful for coming from Pomfret is that family aspect. Family is so, so important.
And that's something going through this whole process that I think I did a little more, but also need to do better going forward. And I'm the oldest. I'm head of household. Number one, baby number one. I have a little brother who's 2 years younger than me, and then a sister who's 4 years younger than me. And I think I need to do a better job as the big brother to help them with this, because they're both. My brother is kind of on his own.
Mm-hmm.
He's in and out of the house, but mostly on his own. And my sister still lives at the house, so I need to be better for them, to be a support and be like, hey, are you okay? Like, let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some of those conversations with them, but I think I need to do it more. And that's something that I know I can do better. And someone would say like, oh, that's not on you. That's not on you to do that. Like, your parents should make sure, but no, it's not. We're an entire family unit who all love each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely on me as much as it is on my parents to do that, to make them know like everything's okay.
Sure.
So that's something I definitely want to be better at in the future, in going forward from this point.
You know, and I would even say this, you know, because it's funny because we're reversed, you know, in the sense of I'm the youngest now,
Yeah.
right? So I have an older brother. Shout out to Trevor, love you, man. So my brother's 8 years older than me. So when I was in the house, kind of figuring this all out as I went, as were my parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my brother was gone already, so he was able to really look from the outside going in. And I remember, you know, my brother, you know, whenever I saw Trevor, we never really talked about it that much,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it wasn't.
It's not something you want to talk about.
No, and I think for me, you know, I think, you know, thank God, you know, I think he blessed me, you know, with the ability to maybe mature a little bit faster than
Mm-hmm.
some other people would. And I think a lot of the situations I was put in growing up helped me with that too. And I think for me, I kind of figured out the whole situation as quickly as I think I could have.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, you know, I would say this, but you know, when it comes to Catherine and Daniel, you know, only talk about it if they want to talk about it. You know, don't feel like you have to. You know, sometimes, you know, it might not be something that they even feel that strongly to talk about. You know, maybe they're in a different place than you might think they are.
Yeah.
And you know, but I do, you know, I would recommend this. You know, definitely do that though.
Yeah.
And at the very least,
At least ask.
just say what's up,
Yeah.
right? Just keep treating them like a sister and a brother. Don't think you have to be dad now because things are different, right?
Yeah.
You can still just be big brother, right? You can still let dad be dad and mom be mom.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the thing for me. I started to get confused in terms of what my role was as the youngest sibling, right? I didn't really know, you know, so what is required of me now that things are very different, right? And what I realized is that nothing is different. You know, it might look different, it might feel different, you might act a little different, but in terms of the meat and the bones, in the entirety of the situation, it's still the same.
Your life is still your life.
Exactly right. And that's the thing too, you know, although things around might change, you know, there's certain things that never will, right? And that brother to brother, brother to sister, you know, brother to father, brother to mother stuff, that never quite changes, right?
Yeah.
It might evolve, but I wouldn't say it ever changes, right? And